If you're a sports fan, make sure you go check out SportsCastr for all of your sports needs. Whether you're a football fan, basketball fan, or baseball fan, this app is the perfect way to get news for your team and is an app I personally use myself in case any of you guys want to check out my pregame, halftime, or postgame streams. I'll leave a link in the description below. What is up, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, we're going to be talking about how third-year Patriots wide receiver Phillip Dorsett is likely done with the Pats after this season. And by now, of course, we all know who Phillip Dorsett is, but for those of you who do not, let's take a little bit of a time lapse here. So, the Indianapolis Colts drafted him within the first round, never really ever lived up to that first round hype since they drafted him within that first round. Then in 2017, of course, Julian Edelman goes down for the Patriots in the preseason game versus the Detroit Lions. He's out for the entire season. And of course, the New England Patriots are looking at needing some wide receiver depth. So they make a last-minute trade. And I mean last minute. Basically, within a week of their first regular season game, they trade quarterback Jacoby Brissett to the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for wide receiver Phillip Dorsett. In that first year with the Patriots, he really was a non-factor. And of course, he had some targets, he had some catches there, but for the most part, he was a non-factor. A big part of this was because the Patriots had guys like Brandon Cooks on the field, which of course had a lot of similarities back to Phillip Dorsett, but clearly Brandon Cooks being the more superior wide receiver versus Dorsett. Not to mention the fact that Dorsett came in just a few days before the Patriots season opener, so never really got time to learn the playbook, learn the rest of the team and get connection with the team, especially the quarterback within Tom Brady. In his first season with the Pats in 2017, he played in 15 games, starting in 2 of them. He was targeted 18 times with 12 receptions for 194 yards, averaging 19.4 yards a reception, 16.2 yards per reception, with a long reception of 18 yards, and of course, 0 touchdowns. So of course, really just did not do much here for the Patriots, especially what a lot of people were hoping after trading a guy like Jacoby Brissett, who some people thought could have been the future there for the Patriots. But moving on to that offseason, then the Patriots trade Brandon Cooks to the Los Angeles Rams, which automatically bumps up Phillip Dorsett, okay? A lot of hype was going to Phillip Dorsett. A lot of coaches and players were excited about Phillip Dorsett and working with him. Obviously, his level of production was expected to rise pretty significantly. And he was getting a lot more looks in training camp, OTs, all these offseason, programs, and also, of course, the preseason games. The 2018 season was clearly and definitely more defined here for Phillip Dorsett with the Patriots. He appeared in all 16 games, in which he started again too, with 42 targets with 32 receptions for 290 yards, averaging 9.1 yards per reception. He also had 3 touchdowns on that season, and then he also had a long reception of 20 yards. Starting off that 2018 season, Phillip Dorsett was one of Tom Brady's big guys to go to. He was definitely way more heavily involved in the offense compared to the season prior. Now, as you move throughout the season, though, his progression starts to go down a lot. Of course, that big addition there was wide receiver Josh Gordon. Okay, when Josh Gordon came in, you saw guys like Phillip Dorsett and Chris Hogan's snap count go down very, very significantly, okay? Phillip Dorsett was very affected by the addition of Josh Gordon. Now, of course, Josh Gordon then gets suspended, and what does that mean? That means for a guy like Phillip Dorsett, his snap count really rose towards the end of that season, and we saw a lot more production for him. We saw his yards, his touchdowns. We saw Tom Brady going his way a lot more, and of course, in the playoffs versus the Chiefs, he made that very big touchdown catch. Now we fast forward to this year, in which Phillip Dorsett has played 13 games, starting in 4. He was targeted 50 times, 50, with just 28 receptions. He has 347 yards on the season, which is actually second best in his career. His first best came in 2016 with the Colts when he had 528 yards. He's averaging 12.4 yards a reception, has 5 touchdowns, and has a long reception of 58 yards. And again, this is just another incident that kind of happened last season. Okay, Phillip Dorsett started off this season as a go-to guy. Okay, he was definitely, without a doubt, the Patriots' best wide receiver at the time starting off this season. Now we're looking at the current situation, and Phillip Dorsett is really a non-factor. And for those of you who do not believe me that he really has become a non-factor, let me tell you this. The last time that Phillip Dorsett caught a reception this season was in Week 13 versus the Houston Texans. Okay, he was targeted 6 times and had just 2 receptions, in which he had a total of just 15 yards. You move on to the following week versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, he was targeted twice, no receptions. Then you move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. He wasn't even targeted that game. Now let's go on to Buffalo last week. Another game, another second consecutive game where Phillip Dorsett was not even targeted. Like I said, there's been times where Phillip Dorsett has really shown up here for the Patriots. I mean, Week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Targeted 4 times, hauled in all of those catches, had 2 touchdowns, and had 95 yards. The following week versus the Miami Dolphins, the same thing. 3 receptions, caught all of his the passes thrown his way, had 39 yards. Following week versus the Jets, he's targeted another 7 times with 6 receptions for 53 yards and a touchdown. But Phillip Dorsett has not had a game where he's caught 20 yards or more, again, since that game versus the Philadelphia Eagles, Week 11, where he had 5 targets with 3 receptions for 33 yards and 1 touchdown. That was the game where Tom Brady flipped it to Julian Edelman, and then Julian Edelman threw the pass down on a fake play to Phillip Dorsett. Now, of course, the big thing to remember about that game is the fact that Phillip Dorsett had a concussion, okay? He cleared concussion protocol pretty fast, which was pretty unbelievable in my own opinion. But nonetheless, he cleared it. So, could that be affecting him a little? There's always the possibility, okay? Concussions can be weird, they can be tricky. I have one going on right now, so I can totally relate to the guy. But the thing is that, like I said, he was cleared from concussion protocol pretty fast. He has not been on the injury report for weeks. So if something was still wrong, I would think that by now, we would know about it. Dorsett went from starting the season off to being Tom Brady's first, maybe second best receiver, to now being bumped below guys like Jacoby Myers. You have wide receiver Julian Edelman, okay, you have N'Keal Harry, and you have Mohamed Sanu. Those are without a doubt, if you look what the Patriots have been doing the past few weeks, this currently is what they're doing. These are going to be their top 3 receivers that they're going to be riding with. We've also been seeing that they like to incorporate Jacoby Myers in there as best as they can, within, of course, those top 3 guys of their wide receivers. But if one of those top 3 guys goes down, then, of course, that's when they put in Jacoby Myers more. We've also seen a pretty substantial decline in offensive snaps for Phillip Dorsett compared to the beginning of the season to now. Now, let's remember this, okay? This past offseason, Phillip Dorsett was a free agent. The Patriots were trying to re-sign him. There was some interest between the two. You heard that a lot of other teams were having interest in Phillip Dorsett. Dorsett was not 100% where to go at the time. Dorsett easily, hands down, could have gotten a way better deal from another team. Okay, teams like the Giants, whatnot. But he didn't want that. Okay, Phillip Dorsett could have gotten big money. Big money that does he deserve? Probably not, but still could have gotten big money and definitely signed to a longer deal than just 1 year that he got with the Pats. But Dorsett does not play for big contracts. He doesn't play for big money. Phillip Dorsett said this himself, that he just wants an opportunity. He wants to be a top receiver for a team, okay? He does not want to be the 3rd, 4th, 5th wide receiver on the depth chart. He wants to be number 1, maybe number 2. And he really just wants to play for opportunity. And of course, he started that season off for the Patriots big last season. The middle part, of course, kind of declined for him pretty substantially, but the end of that season, he rose up again. Which then he ultimately decided, you know what, I'm going to stick with the Pats. Thinking that, of course, he wasn't going to be bumped down this much. Due to the fact that the Patriots signed him on just a 1-year deal, and the fact that because of that he will be a free agent at the end of the season, I don't see the Patriots looking to continue to sign him unless it is for very cheap, as of course, again, he's not going to be that number 1, number 2 guy on their depth chart. But I think it also goes both ways here for Phillip Dorsett. Okay, he wasn't 100% on signing with the New England Patriots this offseason. Ultimately, though, he decided to. He's kind of seen how that's worked out for him. Again, in the beginning of the season, it worked out probably exactly how he was hoping. The past few weeks, though, it's been exactly what he was hoping would not happen. In the end, I think that both Bill Belichick and Phillip Dorsett have both seen what they're going to get within the Patriots organization. You know, Phillip Dorsett seeing, okay, this is what I'm going to get from Bill Belichick, from Tom Brady. This is how I'm going to be played. This is how I'm going to be used. And then Bill Belichick kind of looking at it as, okay, we've seen this from Phillip Dorsett. We know how he's going to play. We know he might start off great, middle of the season, go and at the end of the season, maybe he pops up again. I think the big thing here for Bill Belichick, though, is the fact that rolling into this offseason, they are going to really, really address this wide receiver issue. Okay, the offense as a whole is going to be really addressed, but especially these wide receivers. And I guarantee you that Bill Belichick will not want to look to re-sign a guy for substantial to equal amount of money that Phillip Dorsett will probably be asking for someone who has shown to be pretty inconsistent. And like I said before, Phillip Dorsett's not all about money, but I don't see him taking this veteran minimum just to stay with the Patriots, which is a team that isn't utilizing him as much as, let's say, a team like the Giants would, or even the Bengals. Teams that really, really need wide receivers and have quarterbacks that will literally throw to anyone. To me, in some ways, this is kind of like the situation with Chris Hogan, okay? Chris Hogan did great for the Patriots at times, and then there were times that he would just be inconsistent, wouldn't catch anything, be like, what the heck happened to Chris Hogan, right? Then, of course, Chris Hogan was another free agent for the Patriots at the end of the season. He ended up taking a few months to actually sign with the team, ends up signing with the Carolina Panthers, and he even came out and said that he felt like the Patriots just gave up on him. You know, the Patriots weren't even really looking to actually re-sign him. And it wouldn't surprise me at all to see the exact same thing here happen with Phillip Dorsett at the end of the season. But that's going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on Phillip Dorsett? Do you think that the Patriots re-sign him at the end of the season? Do you think Dorsett wants to sign with the Patriots at the end of the season? Let me know in the comments below. Also, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe if you have not already. It really, really, really helps me, guys, in making this dream of mine into reality and making this channel bigger and making it a full-time job, which means a lot more content for you and just bigger and better things. Make sure you guys share this video with everybody knows that we can grow the Pages Global family. But other than that, I'll catch you guys in my next video.